Hey, it's your open source advocate, and I'm back with another video. Today I want to talk about open source video editing. This is a pretty dear concept for me because I use video editors all the time to make these videos that you guys watch, and everybody does. There's lots of pay options, there's lots of free options, there's lots of open source options out there, but finding the right one isn't always the easiest thing. For a long time, I actually really had a hard time finding a good video editor that would run on Linux, that was open source, and that would stay up and running. So let me give you a little history here. I, just like most of you probably, started on Windows. Now, I started on Windows way back in the early 90s, and when I say early, I mean like the 90s. So for me, that was a huge thing. They didn't really have video editing through a computer at that time as much. But as you progress forward, very quickly you start seeing things like all of the Pixar animation films and stuff like that coming out. As we moved into the 2000s, I got over into MacOS and Apple, and I still love their products. They make really amazing products. I'm filming this right now on an iMac. It's just running Ubuntu Linux. It's a 2011 iMac that runs perfectly well with Linux on it. And then I used iMovie, which was great, still is. I liked the old version better, but it's still an amazing free product that you can get from Apple. I have used some of their professional level movie editing stuff on trials just to see what it was like. And then I've used things all the way up till today on macOS, especially like DaVinci Resolve, things that are quote-unquote professional level editors. The first one up is called Shotcut. It is open source, and it runs on Mac, Windows, or Linux. And I've had really tremendous success with this one. There are several that I'll go through, and it'll be a series. I'm not going to do them all in one video. I just don't like those videos. There's tons of them out there. If you want to go see somebody who runs through every video editor on the planet to try to get you to click, they're out there. Go watch those videos. I'd rather give these a little bit of time and a little bit of explanation for you and what the differences are that I perceive and the workflow and things like that. Now, I'm not going to go super in-depth on these either. If that's something you want, leave me a comment. Let me know, like, hey, I'd really love an in-depth tutorial on how to use this software better or in a stronger, higher level than what I'm using it today, maybe. There's plenty of you guys out there who may know more about this stuff than I do, and that's fine. I just want to introduce you to the concepts that there are some really amazing open source video editors out there. I'm probably going to go through about 5 of them that I can think of off the top of my head right now over the next few weeks. And it won't be every week. I'll kind of skip around just because I don't want to have 5 weeks where people don't give a crud about video editors. So I'll skip around a little bit, but I will come back and do more. So Shotcut's the first one up. It's free. It's easy to get. So if you use Ubuntu, it's in the App Center, App Store. If you're using Debian, those kind of things, if you've got access to an App Center or App Store, it's probably in there. If not, you can go download it and install it on your Linux distribution. You can install it on Windows, and you can install it on Mac OS, and it runs really, really well for me. And I'm using, again, a 2011 iMac. So this is a machine that's 9 years old, headed towards 10 years old now. So now I've recorded some video, and I'm going to stop this recording, and then we're going to open up this Shotcut, and we're actually going to get into it and show you how it works. So to install it, again, let me just show you real quick. So I'm going to go to the Software Center. If you don't have the Software Center, which it's weird to me that sometimes they don't, for whatever reason, they don't install the Software Center all the time. You can actually still install the Software Center, so I've installed it here. This is Ubuntu Mate. I love the stuff that they've done with Ubuntu Mate. It's a really cool distro. The guys who work on it are actually really awesome. So this is going to go out and grab some updates real quick for all the repos. And there we go. It's up. So if you want this, you just go into the Software Center. And then I think you can just start typing, actually. So let's try that. Yeah, so it brings up the search when you start typing. And if you type Shotcut, there it is. And you can click on Install. I've already got it, so I don't need to install it. But there you go. I did not install it through the Software Center. That's why it doesn't realize that it's installed there. But it is installed. So that's how you get Shotcut, basically. The other way is, so you can go to Downloads here. This is the current version. I would even have to check and see if I'm running the current version, but there you go. There's the current version of it. So They have it on FlatHub. They have it on the Snap Store, which is what I just showed you. So the Software Center, basically, that opens up the Snap Store. But it's out there as a Snap. But then they also have it in the FlatHub. If you use Flatpak on Linux, you can go get it from FlatHub. So if you click macOS, you can see here you get a package that you can install for macOS. Of course, you can do Microsoft Windows, and you can get the executables in 64 or 32-bit, which is interesting. So there's a few people who still run the 32-bit OSs, which is fine. They've got it here available for you. So that's where you get Shotcut. You just download it and install it like you normally would on any package. I'm really not. I don't think it'd be interesting for you to watch me install it because it just installs. So I'm going to close that. Okay, so now I'm going to open up Shotcut, and you can just search for it normally through whatever means you have available on your system. First thing it does is open up this little wizard that says, hey, what do you want to do with this thing, this project? What do you want to call it? So I'm just going to give it a name, and it's going to be Shotcut for YouTube. You can name it whatever you want. It doesn't really matter, but I'm just going to hit start. What that does is it creates a folder inside of my videos folder. So it's basically a place to hold all of the stuff that's going to be inside of Shotcut. So I'm inside of a different folder right now. This is one I call Shotcut. And if I go here, you can see right here, there's the folder it made, and it creates this file called MLT. So that's basically where it puts all of the information that you're going to have inside of the project. So up across the top, you have these buttons. These things can be turned on and off, and all of these little areas in the screen can be moved around. I've kind of moved mine around from the defaults. You don't really have to. It's usually set up pretty well, but just understand, like if you see this little line, you get that little handlebar. You can drag that left and right to make space, and the same thing down here. You can drag this up and down to make space, and so on. So first thing we want to do, normally you want to go to your playlist, and you'll see there's nothing here because I haven't put anything in the system yet. So you can import through the menu up here, but the easier way is really just open up your file manager and then drag in what you want. So you can drag things in one at a time. So if I just drag in the main movie that I want here, you'll see it pops up and it's going to start playing. So I'm just going to pause that. But there it is. So it's already on the screen. We can see where I started earlier in the video. And then, so that's easy enough. But if you have everything kind of in the right place, you can also just kind of select everything and drag it in. So I'm not going to select everything, but I'll select these three things and drag those over, and you see they all three show up, and then I'll drag this one in, and then I know I don't have that one yet. So I've got all these things now in my playlist that I want to use. So I can get this out of my way. And so here I'm seeing a preview of what's in my playlist. I can play through this, I can scrub it, I can cut it, I can do a lot of things here in this view. So be aware, you have controls here to control this view, and you can grab handlebars and make things shorter or make things longer or whatever you need to do with the video. I don't personally like to edit in this view. If you do, then you totally have that capability, and I can go through that in depth on a different video. What I generally do is I get things in order on my timeline, which is down here. So you don't really see anything yet because we don't have anything in the timeline, but I'm going to drag that up just a little bit. And I'm going to grab my opener. So this is my normal YouTube opener. So I'm just going to grab that and drag it down here. And when I let go, you'll see it pops up and there's the sound. And I can click in here and I can get my playhead set and I can just pull it to the left. And then I can use the keyboard, or I can use these buttons. And there you go. So now it's playing and it's actually got my sound. So part one kind of done. Ta-da. All right, so that's the first piece. Now I like to use the keyboard. So the space bar will also play. So that's play stop. Just hit the space bar to start playing, hit the space bar to stop. That's easier than me trying to find this button every time when I've got the mouse doing other stuff. So the next thing I want to do is I want to say, okay, well now I want a video to follow that. So I'm going to put this down here. Now you can just drop it wherever, or you can kind of slide it over and it'll snap by default kind of to the end of that, but it also try to overwrite. So if you do this, it'll overwrite that video. It doesn't destroy the video. This is called non-destructive editing. So what that means is you can drag these things down, you can cut them, you can slice them, you can delete pieces from them, and it doesn't actually affect the original video. It just affects what's inside of Shotcut that you're working on that project right now. Now Control and S, like Sam, that's your friend. That's going to save your project as you go along. Occasionally click on Control S, hit Control S and save the project. So I've got a little gap here. I've got some space here at the beginning before I start talking. I messed up 2 or 3 times, so I know I'm going to have to edit this thing down. But let's just pretend like I didn't mess up. So I'm going to set my playhead right here before I start speaking. And I'm going to use the S key, like Sam. Or you can use, and I believe it's this tool right here. Yes, the split, the blade, the razor blade. So if I click on that, you'll see now there's 2 pieces to this track. I can highlight either side. And I want to highlight the side I want to get rid of, kind of dark blue. And I'm just going to hit delete. So it's gone. So that bit in the beginning where I didn't talk and where I was getting rid of my video recording stuff is gone. Now I can right click and hit remove, and I get rid of that space. So that's a real easy thing to do. So if it's over here, you can also just drag and drag it over till it touches. But for me, it's if you do that and you have other clips behind it. In fact, here I'll show you. So we'll create several clips. So I'm going to hit S and split this up, S and split this up. So now, if I drag this over, you see now it creates a gap here, and I've got to go through and fill it all the way down. So if I undo that, Control Z, like zebra, I can just right click in this blank space and click on remove, and you see everything moves together. So it kind of does a ripple, I guess is what you would call that. Everything pulls together. Okay. Now, I like this, and I want to see what's going on. So, but I want to have a little overlap, because when this gets to the end, it just stops, and then I start talking. I actually want to have this kind of fade, and doing a crossfade in Shotcut is really easy. So you just grab a hold of the track, and you basically drag it over how much you want it to crossfade, and you can kind of see the overlap happening down there at the bottom. So I want it to crossfade just where the music's ending, and just where I'm starting to speak, right about there. And there we go, and now we've got a gap, but that's okay. You just right click, hit remove, and everything comes together. So now if we play this, and I'll be honest, I don't know if the sound is coming through on the video, so I'll shut up for a minute, and I'll fix it all when I do the actual post edit. If I play this, so I can just start here and kind of start it playing, you can see there's my intro, and it should fade across, and then there it is. It's real smooth, real simple. Nothing hard, nothing difficult about doing that kind of edit, and we're set. So now I've got some other things up here. I can finish out all of that stuff. I can edit all my video. So if I have other things, so I do. So in this case, I'm going to right click over here on the beginning of my track, and you get all these options. You can add audio tracks where you're just going to add sound. You can add video tracks. You can do a lot of things. So I'm going to add a video track, and it comes in above. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to take one of these contact me pieces, and I'm going to drop it down here on the timeline. So this is just a still image. And by default, Shotcut just sets that as a length of time that it shows. And you can't see it because my playhead's over here. Just click over it and you'll see there it is. It's huge. So it's gigantic. So there's my telegram. But I don't want it to look like that. I want it to look down in the corner whenever you guys get to it. So there's what they call filters. So you click on a filter, and they have tons of filters. When you click on this, there's a huge list of filters you can get to. It is not just the favorites. It's video filters and tons. So if you see the ones with the highlighted kind of little asterisk, that's my favorites. And then there's audio filters, and there's audio filters as well. So you can go to the filters, and you can really kind of make this thing do what you need. So I'm going to do size and position, which I think I have favorited, yes. And off the bat, I can just click here and pick a preset and see what I think. So I can do slide out bottom. And let's just see what it looks like here, because I don't know what this is going to do. There it goes. Okay, drops right off the bottom. So it pretty much does what it says. I just want this in the bottom left. I don't actually need anything special. And you see it shows up here. Now this frame goes away. It's just kind of showing you here's the framing of what's going to be in the bottom left. The frame goes away, and you're just left with this in the end. Now that's one filter. So size and position. Now I want to fade it in from a video standpoint, so I'm going to look for fade in video, and there it is. It just adds it automatically. Now I can make adjustments on how long it takes to fade in, but I don't need to. I'm happy with that. And then while I still have it highlighted, so you're always working on whatever clip you have highlighted, so be aware of that. So while I still have it highlighted, I'm also going to do a fade out video. So I'm going to find fade out video, I'm going to click it, and you see it adds it automatically. And then here's, again, some adjustments you can make on that. So now if I go back, and if I click off of that clip, if we play, so we'll just go through the fade. It comes in. It's going to take a few seconds to kind of scroll over as I'm yakking, and then it fades up. Now, you see the black box. I don't recall if it actually does that on the rendered version. I don't think it does. But there you go. A pretty simple effect that didn't take much effort, and now I can go and I can actually go back to my playlist, and I can drag in another contact. And I can do the same thing. So here it is again, huge. But what I can do is I can kind of grab here on the end, and I can stretch it out, make it a little longer if I want to. I'm going to go back to this one. I'm going to go back to my filters, and I'm just going to say copy. So there's this little copy clipboard here. It's going to copy all the filters. I'm going to jump over, and I'm going to highlight that one, and I'm going to paste. And if you look now, I've got everything the same. It's got fade in, it's got fade out, and it's got the same position. So as I go across, and I can actually just drag this way a little bit so it's not so long. So if we go here, it should fade out. Then you'll have nothing for a couple of seconds, and then it's going to fade in with the next one. And the same thing. So I could just repeat all of the filters I did. I don't have to keep recreating them. Now another little tip for the pros here. If you're doing filters on your video, it's best to do the filter. If you want the filter to last over what might be multiple clips after you get done editing, do your filters early, because they will stay as you slice up the clip. But if you slice up the clip first, like I've done here and here and here, I would have to go apply those filters on all the different clips. And sometimes clips are really short. Sometimes clips are long. Sometimes clips are like so small it's hard for you to see them. So you have to zoom in and out on the timeline. So there's this little zoom tool. So if you look at how long this is, you can see how many seconds it is. So it's got this timer. If you watch, the timer spreads, and so do the clips. So as I spread the timer, the clips spread and the time spreads. So I'm not actually making this longer in actual time. It's just showing me a zoomed in view of it. Another nice thing is if you're trying to cut things at a certain place because of your audio, if you watch the audio wave here, you can see these gaps getting bigger, and I can find the places where I shut up long enough to actually get in here and say, oh yeah, I can cut like right there and probably not cut off my words. So it's really helpful to be able to zoom in and zoom out. But as you play, then the timeline goes quite a bit faster. So that needle moves a lot faster. If I zoom it back down, you see now the needle takes a while to move across the screen. So it's just a perspective that you can change, but be aware that it's there, and it does help sometimes to have that capability. So Shotcut has so many tools, there's no way I could go into all of them. It's incredible how many you have. So there's a history view, and you can see all of the history of the things that you've done. So you can kind of go back and look at what you've done. And again, you can close these down. So there's export when you're finished. So when you get done, you click on export, and then you pick the format that you want. So like for YouTube, I always use HD main, I think is what it's called here. Or H.264 high profile, actually is what it's called. And then there's a little export button down here. When you click on export, it says, what do you want to call this file? Give it a name, tell it where to put it, and then export the file. It's pretty simple. As far as what's happening, so you can do multiple things as well. So I've got the jobs panel down here in the bottom right. So when I started the export, that would start here. I can actually export multiple things at once. I can run lots of different rendering jobs. Just depends on how powerful your computer is. But you can have multiple jobs going at once, and you can see all those jobs and where they're at, what percentage they're at, things like that. So you can do full screen, and so you can see up here I've got the bar. I don't have my dock at the bottom because it hides, so I'm already kind of full screen. But you can actually go like full screen here if you click on that button. And now I don't even have the menu bar at the top. So if you need a little bit of real estate, you've got options to get real estate as well. Keyframes is a bit more of an advanced topic that I'm not real comfortable going into right now, so I'm not going to jump on that one. But if you know what keyframes are and you've used keyframes in the past, understand that there is a keyframe editor here, and you can do a whole lot of really cool stuff in Shotcut with keyframes. You can do a lot of cool stuff in any video editor with keyframes, but in Shotcut, it's got some really great capabilities based around keyframes. So we go back to the timeline. So if you ever lose your timeline, you can bring it back. So properties is pretty useful and interesting. So as you click on different things, you can see the properties of these things. So sometimes I speed up clips where I have like a long running thing where it's, downloading and installing something in the terminal or something on a server. So I'll speed those things up to 10 times normal speed right here, and I'll just put in 10 instead of 1. and then the clip gets short. You get rid of the space, and now you guys don't have to sit there waiting for the thing to download and install, but you can see the actual process of it going if you want to. So there's also a peak meter whenever you have sound on your different audio and things. So if I go here, you can see the actual volume there jumping across the top, and you can kind of tell where your volume setting's at. You can see if you're going into the red line, or you're going way over what you should be. So that's there as well. You can turn that on and off. You can move it. You can make it vertical instead of horizontal. It's kind of up to you how you want that to work. That's really it for Shotcut. It's a really nice, simple, straightforward video editor. It's pretty well put together. I'm really happy with the direction that they've gone with it. I saw this project 3 years ago maybe, and it was pretty early on. It was a little bit harder to use, but I've gotten really accustomed to it. I like it a lot. It's got some really great features, and best of all, it's open source. I think this is a really great tool. So if you've never looked at it, I highly recommend giving it a shot. I hope you enjoy this. I hope this video was helpful. If you did, give me a thumbs up, subscribe. I'll have some more videos. I'll do some more video editors, but I promise I'm going to do some other things in the middle of that. I've got a few things in the works that I've been getting ready for you guys that are going to be some really cool projects that I think you're going to love. Thanks, and talk to you next time.